Perfect. I appreciate you guys. Again, we're here real quick to talk about our goals, really recapping that, and then going into how to achieve and keep our goals and get them through. Hi, Tanea. Tanea's just popped in. I'll let her introduce herself really quick.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Tanae Hairston. I was trying to think if I knew anyone here. But good to see you all. My name is Tanae Hairston. I'm the founder of Rise the Movement. It stands for Rewarding Investment Smart Education. And we are a community of women investors that focus on impact opportunities, how you can grow what you have and then also make an impact. And so that's what Rise the Movement is.
Perfect. Okay, I think Kendi said she'll be right back, but like I said, just to stay within our time I promised you, I'm going to go ahead and start our presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. I always love this part. It's like, okay. Well, it would be lovely if it would start on the right slide, right? There we go. Okay, can you guys all see it fine?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. So again, just going to cover SMART goals. Like I said, I'm sure you guys are familiar with them, but we'll recap them a little. So I love this quote, start with the end in mind, which is great. And Alenka even covered this as well. If you start with the end, which is the goal, and you kind of chunk it backwards, it makes it easier to achieve and more manageable. And I am going to move our pictures. Actually, there we go. Okay. So the S is for specific. We want to be very specific with our goal. You want the goal to be simple, and you definitely want to visualize and see yourself achieving the goal. And one of the things I always use the example with being very specific when you are working on that subconscious aspect. I use one example of money. A lot of people will say, oh, I just want to make more money. I just need more money. And if you only say that and you're not very specific in how much money, your subconscious is like, great, I'm going to work for you. We're going to achieve that goal. And when you set goals, your subconscious always works toward them, whether you think about it or not. It's subconsciously wanting to achieve the goals because it wants to make you happy. So not having a specific money goal with a dollar amount, your subconscious is like, money, money, more money, more money. And you're walking along the sidewalk, you find a quarter, your brain's like, awesome, more money, all done, next goal, because you weren't specific. So it won't continue to work for you. So that's really one little thing why being very specific is important to your achievement in the goal. We want the goal to be measurable. And it definitely needs to be meaningful to you. So you want to be careful when you're planning goals that they're not for someone else or to benefit someone else if that's the main reason for it. You really want the goals to be meaningful and purposeful to you, or it's going to be really hard to achieve that goal. You definitely want it measurable. If you can't measure how you're going and working toward that goal, you really can't decide or be able to decipher any changes that might need to be made or habits that you need to do to actually make that goal achievable in the time frame you've set. Achievable. You definitely want that. You want to set a goal that's realistic and achievable. And I know kind of the R goes with that, realistic too. So you want to make sure that when you set this goal, it puts you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but it's not so ridiculous that it doesn't seem achievable. As Olenka said in the workshop, you want to increase your revenue. If you're making 250,000 and you're like, I'm going to make $1 million next year, that's probably not as achievable as you think it might be. So really just decide if that goal is achievable. And you also want to make sure that it benefits all areas of your life. When you're planning out goals and working toward making them happen, you just want to make sure that all aspects of your life have some kind of benefit from this goal. Because if there's any negativity on any aspect of your life, again, it's going to be really hard to achieve it and to get there. R is for realistic. again, one of those things, kind of back on that achievable aspect. You want to make sure your goal is realistic. It also needs to be responsible and ecological. You want to make sure it's good for you, it's good for the environment, it's good for those around you. So you don't want irresponsible goals. This is usually a better one I work with the kids on, because you want them to make goals that are responsible in that aspect and good for society. Timing. You want to definitely have an end for the goal. You need to have it set future forward. We like in NLP to really call them outcomes, not goals. You want to set that outcome. You want to have a date on it, because you need to know what you're working for, what amount of time you're working for, and it makes it easy in two aspects. One, subconscious knows how much time it's got to work on this and what it needs to do to work on this. Secondly, it helps you when it comes down to the chunking down your time and setting the mini goals to achieve the bigger goal. You also want to make sure that you are toward what you want and not away from. So you want to be motivated in this goal. And what I mean by toward or away is you need it to be something you want to work towards, not something you're trying to get away from. I guess if we go with losing weight, you want to be more motivated to go toward being fit, toward being healthy, instead of, I don't want to be fat. I don't want to feel chunky, whatever. You don't want to have a negative kind of pull to that goal. You want it to have a positive outcome. So you feel very motivated to achieve that goal. If we talk about chunking it down, you want to break down the actions needed to achieve the goal by working backwards. So again, start with the end in mind. If you set long-term goals, which I absolutely recommend, 3 to 5 years, and then definitely 1 year, you want to then take it and chunk it down. So what do you need to do to achieve that goal in a year or in 3 to 5 years? Now, what can you do yearly or quarterly to achieve mini steps to work toward making that goal happen in that timely manner? And again, chunk it down even further to monthly and weekly. You can even go as much as daily if that's something you love to do. How much probably depends on how much of a planner you are, but it's very important. The chunking down aspect really works in that measurability of achieving your goal. You can look at it, say you've got a 1-year goal, you're through your first quarter, you can take what those milestones needed to be for that first quarter and see, did you achieve them? What happened? How can you take a peek at, if you didn't make one of the mini steps or something, it gives you that opportunity to do course correction and implement a new plan if need be. Now, real fast, we just want to talk about a quick strategy. So habits and routines are huge around setting goals and achieving our goals, because in order to make a goal happen and to make anything in our life really happen, you have some sort of habit or routine, or you need to have some sort of habit or routine. So you want to build new empowering habits while breaking old limiting ones to achieve the goal. Again, if we talk about weight loss, a new empowering habit is swapping out a bad snack for a good snack. High performance people know how to build and break habits, and they have a certain amount of structure guiding their day to help them stay on track. This is a fact proven by many people, and a lot of mental performance coaches utilize this strategy. And the reality is, most people are not creating any intentional routines or habits in their day-to-day lives, and it hinders them from achieving their goals. And again, this is an intentional routine and habit. We all have habits and routines. You wake up, you go brush your teeth, or whatever your initial first thing is. Those are, habitual things. But we need to sit down with our goals, make our plans while we're chunking it down, and really set some intentional routines or some habits that are going to move us forward to reach those milestones. So we all have habit loops, and there's always the trigger, which is the cue or the trigger that starts the habit. Sweet, I misspelled start. That's cute. And then routines, that really is the action that you take or the action itself. And then there's the reward. It's the benefit you gain from doing the habit. So for me, one thing I had to do is I wanted to stop drinking coffee. So basically the trigger is I wake up, I really just desire to have, for me, it was more of the experience with my coffee. It wasn't so much that I loved the taste or loved this. I just loved having the warm cup, holding the cup while I sit in the kitchen and talk to my girls while they're getting ready for school. So it was really more about that. And so that kind of was my trigger and led to the routine of just brewing the coffee and sitting down. My reward was, of course, having the warm cup, having the warm drink, etc. Now that I was able to swap it with tea, and I even had to put a sticky note, it took a while. I put a sticky note on the coffee pot and a tea bag to just kind of remind myself, oh, that habit we're changing, and I would go make my tea. And now it's been since Christmas, I haven't had coffee. So far, so good. And I have no desire for the taste of coffee and stuff. I'm pretty happy with the tea. But this is something you can do with anything. Weight loss, go back to the weight loss aspect. Let's just say it's just habit. You sit down at the end of the night, you want to take a break, you want to have a nice snack, enjoy a quick show while you wind down before you get ready for bed. If you typically go to the kitchen and you grab the Doritos or a cookie or something like that, that's like the trigger that starts your habit. So what you can do is don't have those things in the house. And I know a lot of this stuff just kind of seems like common sense, but sometimes we just need to be reminded. So if you don't have the Doritos in the house and you put, say, popcorn where your Doritos typically sit or your cookies, you can keep your same sort of habit or routine. You just have a different kind of reward. Well, you've got the same reward, but it's just a different, better, more positive. And as it says here, if the reward is positive, then you'll have a desire to repeat the action the next time you feel triggered. So again, swapping those Doritos for the popcorn, you get to keep that same habit of your after, evening snack, sitting down and enjoying a show. It just happens to be a different snack that's more healthy, that's leading you towards your goal, leading you toward what you want and what you've set out for yourself. You can use existing routines to build new ones. So you want to identify the habit you want to change, like I explained, eating junk food, identify the trigger, the routine or action, and the reward, and then you adjust the routine or action to be something positive that still will yield a similar result from that same trigger. Do you guys have any questions on that, or do we want to wait till the end after Jen? Because that kind of wraps up my little bit of presentation there. Wanted you to have this, maybe take a quick screenshot. These are some of our NAWBO events coming up. And then I will stop sharing. Are you guys cool if I stop sharing right now? Okay. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on that, or do we want to move forward first and let Jen do it, and then we can just do Q&A at the end?
Yeah, let's do that, Susie, because I think I'm gonna follow up on a lot of the things that you said and give some more strategies. And then, the other great thing besides Q&A that I'd love to do today is I'd love to have some more information sharing amongst ourselves, what works for you, because maybe something Susie's covered or something that I has covered has worked for you, or maybe you have other ideas. And so that's the great idea. That's the great part of us all being together.
I love that.
So, I mentioned that I had spent 30 years in corporate America, many times helping my organizations and my boards to set these goals. And then I've seen a lot of great goals, and I've seen a lot of crappy goals, to be really honest. And I'll tell you some of the main mistakes that I see when setting goals. And then I've seen great strategies for being successful And what I try to help my clients do now is be more successful in achieving their goals. So let's talk about how to hack this, because it's, it's not rocket science. It's just some simple things that you could do that will make you so much more effective in achieving your goals. So let me talk about first the research. And first I'll say there's not a lot of research around goal setting and around goal success, but there are a couple kind of landmark studies that I think we should pay attention to. And this is one of the first ones. Gail Matthews is a professor at Dominican University, and she did one of the biggest studies on goal setting. This is kind of a simple one, but those who actually memorialize your goals by writing them down and having a plan are actually, just by the act of writing them down, makes you 42% more effective in achieving them. She also then goes on to share that you can amplify that effect by tracking your progress and then by having an accountability partner, which we'll talk about in just a second. But so if you don't have goals that are memorialized, I know sometimes the beginning of the year seems like a great time to do it, and then life gets away from me, cleaning up from the holidays and all the things that happen in January, and sometimes I just don't get them in place. Well, the other thing I want to say is there's no real great time to goal set. You can set goals at any time during the years. You can also pivot and adjust your goals. Don't have too much of a moving target though, but it is a great time just to memorialize those goals. Another study showed when I mentioned Gail Matthews also did studies of groups both with accountability partners and without. This is another study that also showed that when you have a weekly accountability partner, and this is sending updates to a friend, but it can almost double your success rate when you use that accountability partner. And we'll talk a little bit more about the best practices to use when having an accountability partner. So I thought that was pretty impactful as well. And then this is another one. So Susie really referenced the SMART template, which I'm sure you've probably heard of as it relates to goals. But the research actually does show that if you set very specific yet challenging goals, so they're a little bit of a stretch, they're not too much of a stretch, right? Because we do want to be able to see that they're attainable. That's the A, or achievable in the SMART formula. But they have to be a bit of a stretch, and it can significantly improve your performance overall in your achievement of that goal. So give yourself a little bit of a stretch, yet don't stretch too far. Don't make them unattainable. So it's a real balancing act when we're setting goals. But that's some of the research behind success as it relates to goal setting. And now let's talk about some of the strategies that come from those aspects of research, as well as just other experts in the field. So the first one that you want to do is, you write down your goals, but then how many of us have written down our goals at the beginning of the year and they sit in a notebook? Okay, so I'm still a paper girl, so this is my planner. So, if this is sitting on my desk, can I see my goals? No. If it's in a drawer, even worse, right? And that's a lot of what I saw in corporate America. So if you have a small business, if you lead a team and you set goals and they're never reviewed by anyone, that's a problem. So one of the best things that you can do is get your goals onto one piece of paper, or onto maybe you make it your desktop wallpaper of your computer, so that you can't miss them. And you want to, take time to review those. I do mine daily because my to-do list is attached to my goals, and I'll share that template with you so you can see how I do that. But if you don't want to do that daily, and some of us can't because we're just far too busy, at a minimum, when you're doing your weekly plan, review your goals and your progress toward your goals. So make sure that they're visible. That's a number one key to success. Another thing is that you want to schedule your strategic time. So when we think about our goals, these are things that are probably not what we're doing today. It's not part of operating our business. So we have our operational time where we take care of our clients, We're doing our social media, we're doing presentations, we're making our calls, but we might need to set aside time to do the strategic things that are called for in our goals. So generally in our goals, we're trying to get to a new place. We might have to create a new program, uh, write some articles. I mean, we might have some things that really require thinking time. And I see this in small business owners and solopreneurs a lot, where they don't carve out specific time to work toward their goals. I call that strategic time. So one of the best ways that I found to do that is that once you have your goals and you know what you want to achieve, I try to break it down first by quarter, and then I take a quarter at a time, and I'll show you my template for doing this. And I know within that quarter to achieve what I need to do for the first part of the year, as an example, what I have to do each week. And then I time block on my calendar time specifically to work on things that aren't part of my normal operating routine, or part of, taking care of my clients, things like that. I don't know how many of you time block, but I find if we don't set aside time to work on the things that are stated in our goals, we're going to be far less successful in doing so. So, maybe that's also related to uh, what Susie said about habit forming. Maybe it's just a habit of doing some of these things so that we can achieve more during the year. Another best practice as it relates to goals is to use scorecards. And so the ones that you see in the picture here are, numerical or data-driven scorecards. Sometimes a scorecard can just be, yes, I accomplished this, task. So for example, one of my tasks that you'll see on my scorecard is active prospecting. This is staying connected to new contacts and my existing network of colleagues. And I have metrics that I use on a weekly basis for those contacts. And, I could track it in a graph if I wanted to, but mine is a simple check. So if you're reviewing your goals weekly and you have your scorecards, you'll know exactly where you are related to those goals. And again, the example I'll give you actually in my case combines my goals with my scorecards. And there can be different types of scorecards. So, the one that I was just referencing, I would consider a strategic scorecard, which is, I've set these goals or strategies for my business, and I'm taking the action or fulfilling the tactics that are needed to move toward that strategy. You may also I have a financial scorecard. I have a marketing scorecard. In some businesses, we may have quality metrics. I mean, you can customize scorecards that fit your business. I'm a big fan of dashboards or scorecards or whatever you want to call it, but kind of at a glance, being able to see how your business is moving ahead going forward. So think about how you can employ scorecards in your business, but also specifically related to your goals. Okay, so we talked about accountability partners, and I want to talk about kind of the best practice as you do this. Now, you might say, okay, why do I need an accountability partner? I've had great accountability partners, and I've had not so great accountability partners. Great accountability partners are the ones who really understand what it is I'm trying to do. And if I'm missing the mark, or if I'm using a lot of excuses, or, saying, oh gosh, I couldn't accomplish much because I was, super sick this week. And, they'll say, oh, BS, Jen, you had at least 40 hours of work time in this week. What did you put toward these efforts? And they'll kind of, that's truly holding someone accountable, right? In a kind way. That's the kind of accountability partner that I want. I want people that help me troubleshoot, help me clear the clutter when I can't see clearly, help give me strategies to move forward, and also call BS if I'm procrastinating or using too many excuses in my business. And so the best practice when it comes to accountability is to actually have a check-in at the beginning of the week and end of the week, or to do it just once a week, maybe a meeting on Monday or a Friday, where you review the prior week and talk about the next week. So you can do it any way that you want, but You want to have both a statement to your accountability partner, here's what I'm going to accomplish this week, and then some kind of report out, here's what I did accomplish this week. And the process of doing that makes you significantly more effective. I think the goal achievement when it comes to having an accountability partner goes up to 73% in that Dominican University study, as opposed to just writing down your goals and keeping them to yourself. So I want to encourage you to select a great accountability partner if you don't already have one. And in the discussion, I really would love to hear if anybody does use this strategy today. Another strategy for success is to do a quarterly review. So you've probably all had this happen. I know I have, where I set a goal at the beginning of the year, and I try to keep them limited in number. So this year I have kind of 3 core goals for my business. And, about a quarter or 2 into the year, I can tell, if I'm going to be on track meeting this goal, or if I'm hitting a big barrier, or if something big has changed, in the industry or in my business that's going to prevent me from achieving that goal. So it's really important to do a quarterly review and to make adjustments to your goal that keeps you on the path moving forward, or the path to success as it relates to your business. So I want to be really clear. I'm not suggesting that, if I'm trying to lose 60 pounds and I've only lost 2 pounds in the first quarter, do I take my goal down? Yeah, probably, but I'm not going to shutter it all together. And I'm not going to give myself so much grace that I don't really achieve what I was trying to in the first place. What I'm suggesting with the quarterly review is that we can adjust our goals if there's a better goal now in sight, and definitely adjust our strategies and tactics. That's the main thing, is to make pivots in our strategies and tactics. And you may also ultimately have better success in the end, especially if there's an unforeseen opportunity that presents itself. I know many of us are solopreneurs. I know at least one of the folks on here leads a pretty big team. And so I wanted to share, if you don't have a team today, but you may have a team in the future, here's just a couple of strategies to help cascade your goals through the organization. One of the things that's important to know, and boy, I saw this over and over again in my corporate roles, is that there's often a lack of alignment between the priorities that the leader has set for the organization and what the team members are aware of. This comes from a study, I think, that was published in Harvard Business Review. I meant to put the source there and I didn't. Only 50% of top managers could identify the top 3 goals of their organization in a given year. And so top managers, your leaders, I think you would want hopefully more than 50% of them to be able to recount those goals. When you get down to the front line, that's only about 16% of frontline employees that understand a company's priorities. So I talk about this thought about cascading your goals through the organization. And it's really important when everybody knows which way they're headed, you can all kind of swim and row in the same direction, and it makes your organization so much more successful. I want to also say, for those of us that are solopreneurs, even if you have a virtual assistant, I would say share your goals with your virtual assistant. You would be surprised how much impact an assistant can have in helping you achieve your goals, and maybe in ways that you aren't even thinking of. So one of the best practices here, again, is to make sure that everyone knows the organization's priorities and goals, and not just once a year. This is another big challenge that I see in organizations, is that we don't talk about the goals enough. Again, it's along with being visible. So you want to make sure that you're communicating with them often about the goals and also the progress, and you can use those scorecards to do that. So my best practice is at least monthly, you're talking to your teammates about your goals and how you're doing, how the organization is doing, again, if you lead a team. And another best practice is that you can actually have your team's performance evaluations based on goals that are connected to the organizational goals. So that's another way to align everybody, right? Because then there's skin in the game. So that's the end of what I wanted to say for goals. I want to say thank you for everything and for this opportunity. I'd love to keep in touch with you. And again, I still want to facilitate a conversation about what's working well for all of you in terms of goal setting and goal achievement. I'm going to stop sharing and we can start the Q&A.
Jim, you guys to stop. Do you guys want me to stop the recording? I'll do that so we can open up our